Where safety is concerned, that is concerning. Hello, I'm Dan Jackson, aka Dan the Engineer. Welcome to another video. This video is about how do you compete with the Cowboys. Now, as tradesmen, we know that Cowboys are everywhere. In the UK, they're everywhere. The place is flooded, absolutely flooded. So how do you compete against them? The truth is, you don't. I'm making this video from my motorhome. I'm just south of Sydney in Australia. My son's playing at the back of my home right now. And we've had a bit of a mare this morning because the motorhome got stuck because there was a storm last night. And we got stuck in the mud. But we managed to get ourselves out. It's all good making this video. There is a huge skill shortage in the UK. Anybody who doesn't think that is in complete denial. There's a huge skill shortage because training isn't as good as what it used to be. It's very easy to get into doing electrics, for example, and other things. And where safety is concerned, that is concerning. But you know, it is what it is, and you just kind of you've got to accept that there are people out there that you are, you know, they're in the market and they do flood the market, and it is a problem, but you've got to rise above it at the end of the day. And there's also a lot of unethical organisations who don't do things properly, a lot of training companies who just, you know, all they're about is getting the money. But the truth is, what you can do, there's no point just sitting there moaning. You've got to be proactive and just crack on with it. Now, there's competent person schemes, but the thing is, the competent person scheme doesn't actually measure competence, which is quite ironic. There's a lot of, I mean, I used to all the time come across people's work who were part of these schemes and used to pull their work to absolute pieces. A lot of that work was dangerous. So being part of a competent person scheme, to the client, they feel that that's it, you know, they're competent, that's it. But the truth is, it isn't. It doesn't mean that at all. And to gain the qualifications to become, you know, a domestic installer and some other accreditation, it's actually not that difficult, in all honesty. It's not difficult at all, which is worrying. But the problem is the client, because the client isn't aware. Now, the ironic thing is that when it comes to commercial work, for example, clients, you know, they should do their due diligence. And anyone who thinks that you just get someone because they're NIC, EIC registered or whatever, it just ticks one box. And they haven't actually done their due diligence correctly. But that's what we're up against. Now, the domestic market's a little bit different because, you know, the duty holder isn't actually the person who owns the home unless it's a landlord. So if it's a privately owned home, this is where it becomes a bit of a problem. And in the domestic market, you actually find a lot, you know, some of the worst electricians are actually, you can call them electricians, working in domestic market. So you have to rise above it, and you have to be clever, and you have to market yourself correctly. So for example, Google my name, Dan Jackson, and try and find a bad word said about me. I dare you. Now, I've always been very honest and open online. You can find so much information about me. Show myself online. I've shown my personality, and I think that's really important because people can search me up and they can see who they're working with, who they're dealing with, and they can trust me. So, you know, the Cowboys, for example, they always get exposed. There'll always be bad reviews about them. There'll always be a bad word said about them. So if you can have something and have the opposite where you know, good things are being said about you, happy days, you're rising above it. Now, the next thing, which I think is a big difference between a cowboy, someone who doesn't know what they're doing, and you know, a decent electrician, is knowledge and how much knowledge you've got, because you know what they do and they don't. So you've always got to increase your knowledge and make sure you've got more knowledge than they do. So for example, when I go to a client's house, I would always talk about the work in detail, in layman terms though, so that they can understand and say, I'm quoting to install main bonding because X, Y, and Z. Now, that's also written down in a quotation, because obviously what you'll find sometimes is that people who cut corners and don't do their job properly, they won't even quote that, they won't even mention it, it won't, you know, it'll be skimmed over, and obviously that could be £100, £200 additional cost that you are charging, and it makes your prices look much more expensive, but you're just kind of justifying and what's included and sort of making that clear. I think it's really important to make everything that's clear. That's why I've always said make sure quotations are very detailed. Don't just put installing one socket, put where it is, what type of socket, you know, brand even, you know, that kind of thing. It's really important to put detail. Now, in terms of knowledge as well, I think it's also important to make sure you've got a budget each year of doing some training course, even if it's not directly what you do, but something that could enhance your business. Now, I've done all sorts on, you know, passive fire protection, emergency lighting, fire alarms. Obviously, I'm big on fire, so I would always do that, and it helps, honestly. Even if you don't think it is, and you're like a commercial electrician, for example, learning about fire really actually helps you do your job, because whether you like it or not, there are aspects of fire that you need to know about. So the more knowledge, the better. Now, I've always written articles as well online. And if you write a technical article, you can put a blog on your you know, your website, you could put it on your LinkedIn or anything like that. And also people could, you know, you can put clients and show them that blog or article, because it might be something relevant to them about, you know, it could be anything, literally anything you can think of that could help them. Like, why do you do main bonding? And it could be a technical thing. Now, the good thing is that's CPD as well, because if you're writing an article, you need to cross-reference it. So you need to double check everything that you're doing is correct. So you're looking at a regs book, and you know, that's CPD, and you're continually learning. So I used to like doing articles and videos on technical aspects, because you know, it used to help me and my knowledge as well. And there's so many free CPD things out there. I mean, there's so much stuff. The government website, for example, has some information about design procedures on fire, which are free to download. There's other publications also. There's things like Sparky Ninja, for example. You know, free content. I mean, that's fantastic. GSH Electrical training videos. I know some, you know, a lot of the stuff that's on his stuff, if you're an electrician, you should know already. I mean, it doesn't hurt to go through it all again. Another really big thing which I think is really important is professionalism in general. So for example, are you wearing, you know, a correct uniform? I mean, I'm not always the one to show that very well, because I mean, look at me. But at the same time, I've always been very professional. Now, I'm not saying if you wear a uniform, it doesn't make you a cowboy, because cowboys can wear them too. But it's kind of like client's expectation, and you know, you've got to think about perspective from the client. And what's really important is that they will always remember things like that. So if you turn up to a job and you're wearing a football t-shirt, for example, is that really the message that you want to get across to your clients? Now, I agree that you should always just be yourself, but at the same time, you've got to think about from the client's perspective and what they're looking for. So if you're all badged up wearing your company uniform and you're looking smart, you know, I think it's really, it goes a long way. At the same time, I'm always about branding. I've got videos out on branding. Now, another thing, you know, I used to do is give them a pen, or we used to have like little loop fob key rings with the company website and logo on it, so it sticks in their head. You know, it's just a reminder for them. And again, it looks professional. And I think the perception from a lot of people that tradesmen are all, you know, dirty monkeys with their arse hanging out, basically. And, you know, I think you should rise above that, so you don't fall into the category of, you know, the stereotypical tradesman as such. So, you know, the way you present yourself is really important. And I think reliability is so important, because a lot of feedback I get from clients is that, you know, they've decided to come to me and they were very impressed that I turned up when I said I was turning up, and that I would respond to them and stuff like that. So reliability is very important to a client. And again, it sets you above the rest of your competition, just purely on reliability and just getting back to people out of courtesy. Now, a lot of people have said to me that they don't often get back to clients because they might be really, really busy, so they don't want to respond. But it doesn't take too long just to say, look, we're really busy at the minute. We can't do any work until 3 months' time, blah, 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 and just being honest. And I found in that instance where people found I'm being honest, they'll actually wait, because at least I'm responding and I get the work out of them that way. And the really, really important thing is how you price your work. I've done this in another video, but also about pricing. Like, you can't price your work based on cowboy prices. Otherwise, you just fall into the category and you're competing with them, because you know, that's your market. So if you have, you know, your pricing structure which justifies you and your prices, you know, it sets yourself from the rest. Because the truth is, if you're pricing at lower end prices, you're going to get a lower end client. Ask yourself, do you want the higher end? And okay, there's not as many of higher end clients out there, but they are there. So, you know, don't fall into this horrible cycle that you've got to price at market value of the lower end. A lot of people seem to do that. And the problem is, if you've got decent electricians charging lower money, it just facilitates a problem of not allowing the prices to go up any higher, because the market value is really low and it's kept really low. So ultimately, how do you compete with the cowboys? The truth is, you don't. You rise above all the crap and you make sure you do the best job you possibly can. You're professional, you're reliable, you show you've got the knowledge, and trust me, they won't be your competition, these cowboys. You will be above them. Now, I offer one-on-one coaching for companies. Obviously, my background is fire and electrical. I travel the world with my family currently. We make YouTube videos and I'm able to work remotely. I've been a contractor for a long time. I've got vast experience. So if you're interested in one-on-one sessions with me, message me and we can talk about it more. I'll see you on another video. Bye.